Why are there so many podcasts about Tottenham? Do I want to know why? They might contain insight, but mostly delusions. If I hear one more, I might die. They don't like Levy.
I'm Tottenham till I die, I'm Tottenham till I die, I'm Tottenham till I die, and I'm Tottenham till I die. Oh, what a wonderful feeling, eh? We're back. Spurs are back. We have not only not lost for like 2 games, we drew against Liverpool, who are still one of the best teams in the Premier League, even though they're quote-unquote on a bad run of form, according to some pundits. And also Atletico Madrid, one of the best teams in Europe. They may not travel well, but who gives a two hoots? We beat them. We beat them at home. Oh, it feels so good. 3 goals. We got the 3 goals we needed to go through against Atleti. It's just a shame that we also shipped 2, but good on the boys. Feeling very positive. Feeling very upbeat at the moment. So before I dive into what I want to talk about today, I do want to give a quick shout out to a campaign that we launched over on Bluesky for Colorectal Cancer Month, also known as gastric cancer if you're in the UK. So we started up, myself and Doug Keefe, we decided to start Spurs Against Colorectal Cancer, a GoFundMe campaign to raise money for the Colorectal Cancer Alliance in honour and respect of Dustin George Miller, the managing editor of Cartilage Free Captain, big Spurs fan, big pillar of the community, and we've raised nearly $2,500 so far. Their work gives a ton of hope to the thousands of people who develop colorectal cancer every year. They advocate for people, they fund research, they do a lot of wonderful stuff. If you can't reach into your pocket to grab a few coins to throw at the campaign, just get yourself tested, look after yourself, give yourself a chance. If you're in the UK, you can speak to your GP and get something through the NHS. It's a quick and easy home testing kit. I think you just poop into a bag, basically. Send it off, you get it tested. If you need to go for more deep screening like a colonoscopy, then it's worth it. You're worth it. Back yourself and give yourself a chance of some hope. So, just getting back into normal Poddenham Hotspur mode. It's been a wonderful week as a Spurs fan. It's just been such a sea change for a lot of people compared to the preceding 3 months, if not longer. I mean, somebody like me might say I was really starting to feel tired of this back in like October, November time. It's been a long while of suffering through a lot of consistent misery. There is a bit of whiplash that's going on for me. I'll talk about that a little bit. But this is the first time that I felt really jazzed to get behind the microphone and give it my all. Talk about this beautiful, crazy club of ours. I love them. Is there a club where you could go from losing embarrassingly against Fulham one week and then, not much later going out and beating one of the best teams in Europe? It's what we do best. It's really good. When was the last time we felt this good after not 1 but 2 games? I was curious about this. I thought maybe December when we beat Brentford 2-0 and then beat Slavia Prague like 3-0 at home. Had Sonny's homecoming. Like maybe that, but I don't think anybody was really like terribly convinced by the performance. Before that, the last time I can remember would probably be August when we beat Burnley 3-0 at home and then went to City and beat them 2-0. Like that's a long time to not have a consistent reason to celebrate or at least feel good about yourself. Like there's an awful lot of inward reflection about how we feel as Spurs fans, our place in the world, our place in the Premier League table, especially our certainty, but like who we are, what we are. There's a lot of history. There's a lot of like I say there's a lot of self-belief. I think the self-belief has possibly been sapped. We don't think we're going to turn up and put in a performance or get the points we need or deserve. There's been an awful lot of that, some victim complex stuff going on. Initially, when I was scripting out ideas for this pod, I thought about talking about the relationship between Spurs fans and the punditry class at the moment. A lot of conversation about how Thomas Frank was treated compared to Igor Tudor and Postecoglou, and Gary Neville's comments about it being a good thing if Spurs got flushed into the Championship. But I think I'll save that all for another day. Going into this podcast, I didn't, especially after Liverpool, I didn't want to be one of the podcasters out there being a bit of a contrarian and putting out negative vibes. There's so many positive podcasts that I've listened to in the last few days, and I quickly listened to one this afternoon after the Champions League game. But what I'm hearing again and again is how these people are excited to get behind the microphone just like I am and talk about this. I covered this in a podcast before. I think it was why do we listen to Spurs pods after a defeat, in which I described for podcasters, they have to motivate themselves to do this. They have obligations either to themselves, to their friends, to their fans, monetarily. There's all sorts of reasons why they would do this, to satiate the algorithm, the relentless YouTube or Spotify algorithm that only really pays attention to you if you do certain things like posting consistently. In fact, just on this topic, I want to make a quick mention of Harry Scarf, who showed up on The Crow and Cockerel this week to talk about his work as a Spurs podcaster, how he's feeling at the moment, his work as an autism advocacy person, but also he talked about how he's changed his kind of content creation strategy. And Harry puts out a lot of good work, works with a few people who are regulars on his show, and he talked about how they've had to change their approach, how they are, sort of, some of his collaborators are less willing to come on. They don't feel good about talking about Spurs. And it was just a really raw conversation, and very honest from Harry, and I respect him greatly for putting that out there. I think it's something that we should say more, and honestly, it's a question that I feel like I should have really probed some of my interviewees in the last couple of months. So good on the Crow and Cockerel boys for that. I'll put a link to it in the description if anybody wants to check it out. And I do encourage you to do so if you're interested in how the sausage is made of Spurs podcasts. So it's been good. I'm happy to be here talking to you. I feel like it's the first time I've had some energy in a while. It also helps that I had a Diet Dr. Pepper not long ago, as well as a Cadbury's Creme Egg. So that's probably put some wind in my sails, as well as seeing 3 pretty good goals from Spurs today. I'll save some of the commentary for the people who are better at it, but we played really well from what I saw and what I heard on the radio. I was at work, so decided to just tune in that way. BBC 5 Live was a shit show today, but anyway, getting off topic. Some people were calling for Igor Tudor's head after Liverpool still. People there was a lot of sort of noise in the press about how we were lining up Roberto De Zerbi or looking to pull the trigger and move on to something else, because we had 5 losses in a row under Tudor. Of course, this ignores the context of injuries and trying to turn this team around. But people were citing tactical issues, playing players out of position, and now that's seems to be turning again, at least from what I can tell. Very briefly, I expect in the next couple of days we'll hear more people saying you got to stick with Tudor, etc., etc. There were a few people saying that everything hinged on Forest, so I'll be paying attention to whether or not they stick to their word. But narratives are changing very quickly, changing on a dime. We've seen it with players. Richarlison sort of quickly goes from week to week of being reviled for his lack of first touch to suddenly being the best thing since Kane. There's other play narratives which I expect to change in the next few days. Romero, Mickey van der Ven have all been criticised greatly. It's just been the same players who got us into this mess are now being called potential legends if they can get us out of it. And I think it's just, I think that whiplash is really doing a bit of a number on me. Same for Tudor. I heard somebody say that he could be a legend if he gets us out of relegation. And so I feel like there's a stronger argument for that, seeing as he wasn't here for the majority of the season. And yeah, so there's like a lot of hope around. I've seen that, word in 4 or 5 different podcast titles. I must have heard it in every other podcast as well, like somebody saying belief or hope. It's a very common word. If I had more time, I probably would have done that analysis because I love numbers. But even somebody like Marcel on CADS was talking about how he hopes the players have hope too. There's a lot of hope floating around. The hope that kills you is turning into the hope that thrills you at the moment. I personally didn't feel that hope after the Liverpool game. It might be because I missed it. I wasn't able to go to the watch party near me and didn't watch it at home because honestly I was laying in bed recovering from illness. I was pretty rough. Felt almost as bad as watching Spurs recently. And yeah, I didn't feel it. I watched the game back. I could see what people were pointing to in terms of effort. Richie's last minute goal probably didn't hit as hard for me because I didn't see it in real time. But upon reflection over the last few days, I've also been questioning whether or not it's a part of me that's protecting myself from the disappointment of getting my hopes up. I did such a period of grief a few weeks back, just kind of resigning myself, especially after Palace and Fulham, that relegation was getting more and more certain, and I needed to be prepared for it, both in terms of emotions as well as just how I would run my local supporters club. Would I still be able to convince a bar to open up at 7 a.m. to watch us play Lincoln or something? Would people come out? I don't know. Like, what was the rest of the season going to look like? Was all this worth the effort? I just wasn't sure. So yeah, I think that vulnerability was exposed pretty hard by the run of games that we've been through this season, and probably the most of last season. I think there's also a turning point in terms of the ability to think positively after such a long run of negativity. I don't know the psychological analyses on it, but I'm sure that there's a mindset you get into, and this is worth remembering for the players too. Probably related to a lot of podcasters' comments about a losing mentality, but I think it's just that belief that you can enact real positive change in your environment or in yourself, and that you can enjoy it and engage with it without thinking that something bad is going to happen next. We've all that moment. We're sort of trained in reacting to VAR in this way. Very few of us, I think, enjoy a goal now without the back of our heads thinking, okay, wait for VAR to tell us that it's okay. Maybe they spotted something. Maybe there was a pull in the build-up. There's all sorts of stuff. And I'm just going to rattle through a few different sort of examinations of my own behavior that I'm going to just lay out here, if you hadn't guessed that already. But maybe it will help you connect to it. Maybe it'll explain a few things that you're seeing around you. Who knows? Another thing I sort of stumbled upon was maybe there was an inability, a difficulty for me to reconnect with these podcasters, this space, after distancing myself. I took a step back. I talked about this before my podcast with Greg from Wheeler Dealer Radio, which has been very positively received. I hope that Greg and the rest of the WDR crew can feel pretty good about what they achieved in the Spurs podcast sphere. But yeah, I took a step back. I engaged on social media a little bit less, even though I really like talking to other Spurs fans. I've changed how I podcast into being much more reflective of myself rather than what other people are saying. And I've just been listening to far fewer and listening to other things to try to soften the blow. And I've missed Spurs, honestly. But yeah, I wonder if there's been a little bit of difficulty in reconnecting to the vibes, especially coming back to some of these narratives and vibes that are changing very quickly at the moment. Like, if I'm moving a little bit more slowly than others, it's been difficult to get back into that headspace and engage with that content on a level that I think is fair to them. But that's kind of a me problem, not a them problem. And everybody processes excitement and disappointment at different speeds and in different ways. And in that regard, I think that for some people, and I think I fall into this category, is that sadness, in a way, can be comforting. And there has been a lot of sadness that I felt about Spurs and, like I said earlier, their place in the football world recently and what they represent as a football club. But sadness for some people can be comforting. It's something that can be controlled in uncertain times to a certain extent. Of course, in cases of major depression, it can become uncontrolled. But luring yourself into that way of thinking, into that mindset, is something which, like I said earlier, also protects yourself. So entering into it more willingly, it can be dangerous. But it can also, like I said, be somewhat comforting. It's consistent. It's expected. I feel shit today. I'm going to feel shit tomorrow. That's what's going to happen. Instead of the opposite, which is I feel great today. Our Spurs going to make me feel shit tomorrow, you know? I hope that's making some sense. If you couldn't tell, I didn't go to school for psychological analyses. But hope is also dangerous. As I just said, it can change from day to day. It can build you up and knock you down. Hope is a dangerous little thing is a song by one of my favorite bands, Menzingers. They're so good. I'm going to slap the table a little bit. They're so good. Last couple of podcasts I've been talking about things that I really enjoy other than Spurs. I talked about Transformers a few episodes ago. I mentioned professional wrestling with Greg, and now I'm talking about punk music. Punkenham Punkspur. But yeah, Menzingers are great. Go check them out. I'll throw in a link to that song in the show notes too. But yeah, hope is a dangerous little thing. It can you know, it can get underneath your skin and change you for the good, and could be snatched away so quickly, especially at the moment where the stakes are so high. You know, it's not like the previous hope that we might have felt where, you know, perhaps we'll get up to fourth, or we'll advance in fourth in the table, or advance in a cup competition. It's now like, okay, we've got the hope that our safety, which is such an important, you know, structural thing for your well-being, you know, you can build it up, and there's that risk of it getting taken away. And this is, I think, contributing to a little bit of a culture of overhyping. And I think this is contributing a little bit to a culture of overhyping at the moment for Spurs fans, and I'm getting tired of it. It's always been the case that football fans, especially because they're not a gestalt, word I say a lot on this podcast, I feel, but they're not a monolith. Maybe that's a better way to put it. They're not a monolith because they are not uniform. A gestalt would be a combination of lots of little, you know, pieces coming together, which is what fandom is. Stay with me there. This is a little bit of a rambly one. The cream egg must be kicking in. But yeah, you know, there's always been this habit of Spurs fans and other football fans to really get behind every little moment and call it the best or worst thing ever, or a turning point, or you know, a bellwether for better things to come, without enough data to support it. An example I would point to that I think it's not something that I buy into, and I totally get why other people do, but it's hyping of young players. Like Mikey Moore is clearly a talent, but people talking about him like he's the next coming of Harry Kane, I feel like does him a disservice. We haven't seen it enough yet in a Spurs shirt to really get behind that. Another one right now would be Callum Olasesi. He's come on, he's had some great performances for 16, 20 minutes, whatever. But he's coming in at the end of games. People are calling for him to start because he's made some progressive passes and things. But like he's a kid. You can't pin all your hopes on a kid like that. You know, he's a boy. And us getting behind him is great, but overhyping him is really dangerous. There's that hope again. Another thing is like every game being the be-all and end-all. Crystal Palace was the biggest game ever. Fulham was the biggest game ever. Liverpool was kind of a, you know, free hit, but now that we've drawn it, people are saying that it's a turning point, that the players can fight, they yada, yada, yada. This guy will save us, this guy won't save us, etc. Kinski is another great example of this. A lot of podcasters were calling for Kinski to start over Vicario pre-Atletico Madrid away. And it was relentless for a bit. I know that people have their complaints about Vicario, but he still is a senior top-flight keeper with experience in the Premier League. Kinski came in, decent player. I've never really seen what other people see in him. He's good with his feet, ironically. But I've always found his shot stopping to be a little bit suspect, which is one of the things that people have been complaining about Vicario recently. And he comes in and he has an absolute shocker, whether due to the pitch, whether due to his own confidence, but he's yanked off after 20 minutes or whatever. You throw all of your hope and belief behind some of these more unproven players because they are exactly that. You don't have enough data to show that they're going to be disappointing to you. I find it relentless. I find it a little tiring, and people just need to take a step back from it, in my opinion, and let things be, let things play out the way they will. Accept that the manager, the coaches, the players have more information than we do. Occasionally there are things that we can disagree with regarding formations where players play a little bit, but we also don't have the information about how people are performing, where the manager's experience and coaches lie with this particular set of players. It's just predictions and having opinions are fine, but I feel like making everything this kind of meme culture almost, like these things are almost viral that I'm talking about in the internet sense. Kinski being started is the next big thing. If he doesn't start Kinski, he's doing a disservice to our club. If he doesn't play Olasese, he's doing the same. Mikey Moore should have never been sent out on loan. Jamie Donnelly never should have been sent out on loan. Like, I get it. I totally get it. But with the resources we had, these loans made sense at the time when they happened. So that's just been a bit of a frustration that I've had. But yeah, so I was feeling a little bit distanced from the general Spurs vibe, at least what I could tell from podcasts on Sunday through Tuesday. I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure what this team was doing, and then we played Atletico today. I wasn't confident of a win. I'd hoped for a win, if I'm honest. I wasn't sure we'd get it. But more than anything, I just wanted us to put in the performance, give a good account of ourselves on the way out. And even if we did win, I was kind of hoping that we didn't get extra games. I don't think we're going to win. Didn't think we were going to win the Champions League. Barcelona ripped Newcastle apart 7-2 today. Arsenal are still in there and they've played us twice, and beaten us twice. Paris Saint-Germain the same. Bayern Munich, I can't believe that Harry Kane, after scoring that worldie today, wouldn't turn it on against us, sadly. So I just wanted fewer games. For me, Premier League survival is paramount right now, and I just don't think having extra games in midweek was going to be the best thing. I'm already nervous that the minutes that we had to put into the legs of some of these players today is going to be a problem against Forest. I mean, I know Forest are playing on Thursday, I think, or is it next Thursday? Anyway, whatever. They're playing at some point. It's not. We need to stay in the Premier League. That's the best that we can have for me. You can't be in the Championship. I don't give a shit. We should never be in the Championship now. And it's a bit of a defeatist attitude. It's not very Tadaris to do, to say, hey, I think that we should win a game but not progress in the cup competitions. But I think this is all part of the control that I mentioned earlier, the comfort of the certainty of knowing that we've got more time for these players to work on the pitch, to get fitness back, to have time working on tactics and formations and etc. It's that certainty that I'm looking for in an uncertain time. People are talking more positively about our players. I don't have citations on any of this. I haven't been taking notes as well as I would, but Archie Gray's getting talked up a lot. I'm trying to think. Richie's getting a lot more confidence. I heard Xavi today. You can see on Reddit, you can see on Bluesky that Xavi's getting a lot more got more plaudits, especially for his performances. It's been good, and I'm interested to see if that's going to continue. If there is going to be a reframing of narratives about some of these players who've been so dog-eared by fans, sadly. Some folks who wanted Tudor gone after the Liverpool game still have owned up to that and said that they were wrong. give credit to Barnaby from Spurred On. Like, it takes a lot to say that you were wrong, and it isn't easy. And I think that I wish that we heard more of it. You hear it sometimes, mostly when things have gone well. We don't often hear people hyping up a player and then it going badly and then them owning up to that in the podcast space. Maybe it's not good for your branding, but it's not easy. So credit to Barnaby for saying that. In a way, you could say that it's more of the narratives changing so quickly and overhyping, but I'm going to give benefit of the doubt here because I like Barnaby, and I get to do what I want on my podcast, and you can't tell me otherwise. Or you can tell me, you can't make me. So, I'm looking forward to Igor Tudor obviously keeping us up. I'm hoping that's going to happen. And then in the same vein as narratives changing quickly, that the fans either criticize the board for keeping him on. Look at his history. He's never been good in his second season. He's a keep you up merchant, etc. Or criticizing the board for not keeping him. Why did you get that coach when Igor Tudor got the players playing underneath him, and they came back, and they were a unit, and if things were going well, why have they always got to mess things up? Like, I can just see that coming. So we've got Forest next. I hate Nottingham Forest, don't you? Fucking hate Nottingham Forest now. I used to like him. Stuart Pearce, a little bit punk as fuck as far as I can tell from what I've heard about him. Bit of a nutcase. I love it. Go back to Clough and all that other stuff. It was great when they came back up, even with the cash injection they got. And then everything happened last summer with Marinakis and Morgan Gibbs White, and it was just a pain in the ass. So it feels really annoying that at the arse end of the season, when we have a relegation 6-pointer, it's against them. It's almost like a really bad narrative written for a play, or a play. Don't know why I chose a play, like a short story or something. And it's got the feeling of a cup final right now. I've got this sort of excitement and anticipation within me, almost like I would for like a League Cup final or something. I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about who's going to play. I'm excited for us to put in a performance again like we saw yesterday. So it's really good. It's an enjoyable feeling right now, and I'm sure there'll be plenty of other people who are much more experienced in talking about Nottingham Forest who can fill you in on where they're at. So I'm going to draw it to a close here, I think. I've been trying to keep these short where possible. If they're just talking about Spurs, I feel like right now there's a case for getting in and getting out with podcasts. So if anybody can do that, that's great. Get in, quick and tight, half an hour. Don't overstay your welcome, and move on. So that's what I'm going to try to do for you here. I'm going to come back to the call to action regarding the colorectal cancer charitable campaign that we're running. Please go out and give support in any way you can. Share the links, tell people about it. I think this is a really nice thing for Spurs fans to do. To raise thousands of dollars for cancer charities is huge. It makes a big difference to have that word out there and have people having conversations about these things. Similarly, we found out today that View from the Lane, the host and longtime Spurs fan, Danny Kelly, has been diagnosed with throat cancer, specifically esophageal cancer. And best of health to Danny. I hope that we hear him back to his old self very soon. I'm sure he's going to be still floating around the Spurs spaces, but he's given a lot of people a lot of joy as host of the award-winning Spurs podcast from The Athletic over many years. So go well, Danny. We'll if you're going to take a break or sabbatical, we'll miss you. So yeah, be well. Enjoy that hope. I'm going to make another song reference here, but hope is a dangerous thing for a person like me to have, but I have it. Go share the podcast. Go like it. Go make some podcasts. Go listen to some podcasts. Go talk to somebody, especially me, about podcasts. Just go do it. Go listen to those podcasts and up the Spurs. Guys.